The lander Othris shuddered as its thrusters bit into the thin violet atmosphere of Eidolon, scattering dust like phosphorescent snowflakes. Commander Lena Roque stared through the forward blister at jagged planes that flickered in faint internal light, as though the planet possessed bioluminescent blood. Beside her, pilot Ibrahim Koida coaxed the landing struts into a steady tremble, muttering prayers in Bambara. Behind them, Dr. Kazuo Sato, engineer Maeve Kruger, and botanist Daniel Calder held their breath. 62 days of interstellar transit had delivered them to an exoplanet no probe had dared land on, one wrapped in electromagnetic signals that formed no decipherable pattern. Their mission: decipher that silence. The touchdown reverberated through the hull. Panels rattled. Maeve checked her readouts. Atmosphere breathable with filtration. Gravity, .9 Earth. Radiation, nominal. Congratulations. We're alive. She managed a grin that did not reach her eyes. The crew unbuckled and exchanged ritual fist bumps. A first contact scenario with a lifeless world still felt like a kind of meeting, a rendezvous with the unknown. They stepped onto soil that yielded like memory foam, springs of lavender dust blooming around their boots. Eidolon smelled faintly of ozone and wet copper. The plain stretched toward distant spires, rock formations that resembled cathedral organs. Calder knelt, slid a sample vial beneath the surface, and gasped. The scraped pit refilled, not with dust, but with a faint hologram of his own gloved hand, which shimmered and vanished. Maeve whispered, "Mirage?" The ground stayed solid underfoot, yet each of them felt as though the planet had briefly tasted them. Night fell in less than 4 hours, a rapid dusk as the planet's small sun winked behind those organ pipes. Stars crowded the sky in impossible constellations. Temperature remained mild, but the air tingled, prickling their skin inside the suits. They set up a dome laboratory, deployed telescoping antennae, and began sampling. Sato charted local magnetic flux lines that bent madly around the camp like unspooled wire. The first anomaly arrived with sleep. In her cot, Maeve dreamed of the ocean she had left back on Nova Scotia. Cold breakers bristling with whitecaps. Mid-REM, she felt water seep beneath the blankets. She bolted upright, helmetless in the pressurized dome, and found her boots ankle-deep in seawater, surging from nowhere. Waves lapped against equipment cases. She screamed. Lena, Ibrahim, Calder, and Sato leapt from bunks. Maeve's fear saturated the room until everyone smelled brine. Then, just as suddenly, the water evaporated, leaving salt crystals like frost on the plastic floor. Instruments sparked and died. Silence resumed, broken only by shared ragged breathing. Sato broke the hush first. Hallucination? Shared? He touched the salt. It was real, granular and damp. No neurotransmitter could do that. Ibrahim swallowed. Maybe she heard the ocean in her dream, and it listened. Data logs revealed the salt as perfectly terrestrial sodium chloride. No known teleportation signature. Calder rubbed his eyes. The planet manifested her thoughts. Lena leaned against a crate. That would suggest a psychic environment, one that translates mental constructs into matter. But why? No one answered. Over the next 24 hours, manifestations multiplied. Ibrahim envisioned a wooden djembe drum to calm himself. A drum materialized beside the airlock, carved from West African Iroko wood, still echoing with invisible hands. Calder recalled the smell of his grandmother's garden. Suddenly, thyme and rosemary sprouted between rivets in the floor. Lena's memory of a thunderstorm conjured distant lightning that traced her childhood hometown skyline in the dark. None of it lasted more than minutes. Each construct sublimated into colored motes that spiraled back to the ground. Sleep became a threat. Dreamscapes bled into reality. Sato pulled them into a briefing. The phenomenon responds to emotional amplitude. The stronger the affect, the louder the external echo. Good memories seem benign. Bad ones. He did not need to finish. Maeve's dream had almost drowned them. Ibrahim suggested sedation. Calder proposed staying awake in shifts. But Lena saw the flaw. Exhaustion spawns fear. Fear will summon worse. She demanded a systems meeting. If the planet mirrors us, maybe we can mirror each other deliberately. Construct a single cognitive signal, reducing stray noise. Sato's doctorate in neurocybernetics earned him the next word. The lander's neural mesh interface, designed for exosuit control, can be rerouted. We could link our cortical patterns into a shared feedback loop, a collective consciousness of sorts. 5 minds braided into one channel might dilute individual nightmares, produce coherent imagery we can jointly police. Ethics and terror wrestled inside them, but they had already watched dreams flood their habitat. Consensus arrived quickly. "We link," Lena said. "Tonight." Maeve and Sato rewired the mesh. The apparatus resembled a crown of fiber-optic fins that arced from a central node. They mounted 5 brain-machine transceivers to the dome ceiling, over reclining couches. Sedatives threaded through IV lines to ease transition. But Sato kept the dosage low. They still needed vigilance. One by one, they settled under the halo. Sato activated synchronization. A tremor passed through each skull, not painful but immense, like a shout inside the bone. The room vanished. They found themselves standing in a vast, white plain. No horizon, no sky, only undifferentiated radiance. Each crew member glowed faintly, color-coded by their neural signature. Lena Cobalt, Ibrahim Amber, Maeve Viridian, Calder Rose, Sato Pearl. Lena flexed phantom fingers. "This is the bleed-over layer," Sato explained. "Our composite cognitive field." Then the planet intruded. Ripples of purple rolled across the blankness, sketching silhouettes of the camping dome, the organ spires, fragments of half-remembered childhood streets. Eidolon's psychic substrate, meeting them halfway, demanded content. Lena raised her cobalt hand. "We choose one thought. We hold it, together." She pictured a stalwart lighthouse, stone stacked against a breaking sea. Ibrahim added rhythmic drum beats inside the tower walls. Maeve contributed steel bracing, Calder vines of rosemary for scent, Sato mathematical harmonics to lock geometry in place. The lighthouse unspooled upward, radiating blue luminescence. They stepped inside. Outside the windows, storm clouds gathered, collective fear waiting for cracks. Hours passed in waking dream. Physiological monitors showed bodies at rest. Inside the shared field, they patrolled the spiral staircase, reaffirming supportive thoughts. When Maeve's anxiety surged, walls leaked brine. The others countered by tightening their mental grip on dry stone. When Ibrahim's buried grief pressed forward, Lena's command presence wrapped him in cobalt calm. Nightmares prowled, but could not breach unified will. They woke after 9 hours, disoriented, but alive. No new manifestations cluttered the lab. The salt had dissolved. Equations on tablets predicted a stable damping effect, as long as they re-entered the mesh before ream each cycle. Hope flickered, yet Eidolon adapted. On the 5th night, while the crew slept netted together, an external quake shook the dome. Seismographs spiked wildly. The planet, apparently craving more data, hammered until cracks fissured the habitat floor. Inside the cognitive field, the lighthouse rocked. Calder lost concentration, recalling a childhood fear of sharks. The lighthouse flooded with dark fins slicing through water that shouldn't exist. Maeve screamed, an echo devolving into the cry of a great white. Teeth carved the air. Lena overrode panic. "Focus! One mind!" They reconjured the drumbeat, a pulse-sinking heart rates. The sharks dissolved into spray. The quake passed. The physical world steadied, but cracks remained in the dome's silicone and in their unity. After repairs, debate flared. Calder cursed the planet. "It's learning from us, pressuring to mine our unconscious." Ibrahim slammed a fist into his palm. "Then we upgrade the defense." Sato proposed deeper consolidation. Collapse 5 egos into a single identity during sleep. No residual personal subroutines. Total merge. They argued about losing individuality, but Eidolon's storm only grew. At dusk, their breath turned to ice. The planet was warning them. Dream or die awake. Maeve's voice trembled. "If we merge, we must trust absolutely." Lena stood. "We became astronauts to step beyond ourselves. This is the edge." Her gaze darkened. "I say we cross." The next linking session involved erasure protocols used in experimental therapy for dissociative disorders. Sato coded a meta-memory buffer, so personal memories would be archived, accessible after re-separation, but dormant during merge. At 2200 hours, they initiated. Blackness swallowed 5 souls. Then a new consciousness opened its eyes. It called itself Quinque, a fusion of quintet and briquet firestone. Quinque perceived space not as distance, but as timbre, a resonance field shaped by intention. It, he, she, they, examined the planetary substrate like a musician tunes an instrument. Eidolon's psychic lattice hummed in a minor key, seeking dissonance to provoke richer chords. Quinquet answered with a major triad, introducing harmonic stability. Storm clouds faltered. Ground quakes subsided. Eidolon retaliated with complexity. Forms emerged. Obsidian wolves with nebular eyes. Fractal labyrinths whose corridors rearranged faster than thought. Replicas of lost lovers calling from mirrored doorways. Each manifestation attempted to tease out the separate minds inside the merge, to individuate them and exploit solitary fears. But Quinque had no solitary anything. When a lupine maw clamped down, Quinque became liquid wind dispersing. When a labyrinth spiraled, Quinque flattened space into a paper song. Affliction turned to art. The planet watched. Outside in material reality, instruments recorded flares of exotic particles blooming around the dome, like fireworks in slow motion. Cameras captured faint silhouettes dancing, wolves collapsing into ribbons, labyrinths folding into origami cranes. Every aggressive construct was metabolized into beauty, then into nothing. Eidolon was being taught a different language, creation without predation. The duel lasted 2 nights and a day. Physical bodies remained sedated, nutrient IVs dripping. Inside, Quinque felt time and heartbeats of starlight. At last, the planet stilled. The air in the lab warmed to earth spring mildness. Crystals of salt and ice sublimated. The organ pipe mountains glowed cerulean, as if bowing. Quinque sensed invitation. A corridor of light opened through the psychic landscape, downward, toward the planet's core. Data hunger sparked. They had come here to learn. Quinque stepped forward. Descent felt like sinking through memories of every ocean that had ever existed. At the corridor's end waited an interface, not solid, not even spatial, more like a question shaped in empathy. Quinque understood that Eidolon had never encountered distinct minds before. It existed as a world-sized dreamer, conjuring geological features the way humans conjure sentences. The arrival of discrete consciousnesses had been intoxicating, frightening, and painful. The planet tested them not to destroy, but to comprehend difference. Quinkay responded by unspooling memory, footage of Earth's biodiversity, symphonies, mathematical proofs, children's laughter. The planet absorbed each fragment like dew on crystal. Then it offered return gifts, schematics of magnetic monopole fields, hints of faster-than-light topologies, and a baseline hum, a lullaby older than molecules. To hold this data intact, Quinkett compressed it into strands of meaning that would survive fragmentation back into 5 minds. When the corridor dimmed, Quinkah sensed farewell. The temporary union had served its function. Consent to separate bubbled up. Quinkay released a sigh that contained 5 distinct voices. 5 bodies awoke gasping in the dome. Neural mesh disengaged. IV lines beeped soft alarms. For a moment, no one spoke, fearing the dissolution of shared omniscience into lonely pronouns. But knowledge lingered, like aftertaste, fuller than individual memory, enough to know they had endured. Lena sat upright. Download. Maeve, tears on cheeks, nodded, hands already moving to retrieve the buffer. They transferred Quinkay data into secure drives, terabytes born from dreams. Calder rose unsteadily and opened the airlock. Dawn had just climbed the horizon. The organ spires chimed with wind, an audible scale that he recognized from the lullaby. The planet was still conversing, now gentler, a companion, not a predator. Sato scanned environmental readouts. Atmospheric stability improved, radiation shielded by coherent magnetosphere. He looked up, eyes wide. It realigned its poles. Ibrahim laughed, the sound half hysteria, half worship. We taught a planet to sing. Over breakfast, the first time any of them tasted food they fully believed in since arrival, they grappled with simpler questions. Would the manifestations return if they slept apart? Calder yawned. I doubt it. It recognizes boundaries now. Maeve sipped rehydrated coffee. Do we stay to explore or report home? Silence weighed. Each bore fresh awe and residual fear. Lena finally answered. Both. We document 6 more weeks. Then we ask Eidolon for safe passage. The remaining days unfolded like collaborative art. They slept individually, dreams unspilling. Eidolon occasionally offered gifts. A flower sculpted from pure silicon left by the hatch. Rains that fell upward, before dissolving into double rainbows. Maeve and Ibrahim built a transmitter, using the planet's magnetic lattice as an amplifier. Transmission times to Earth halved, violating known physics, yet proving repeatable. Sato's equations promised a revolution in power generation. Calder cultivated micro-orchards, coaxed from local dust, infused with communal intention, producing edible fruit that tasted faintly of every childhood memory at once. One evening, Lena walked alone beyond camp without a suit. The planet's air smelled of new books. Behind her, the dome lights glimmered like grounded stars. She asked the empty field, "Are you still there?" The ground hummed, an agreeable purr. She remembered Quinkay, the feeling of being more than herself. A pang of loss cut deep. Eidolon responded. A gentle projection of cobalt light wrapped her in warmth. She understood it was not re-merging, but acknowledging the imprint she and her crew had left. The launch window arrived on mission day 91. Their shuttle, now refitted with Eidolon's superconductive crystals, breathed quietly on the pad. As they performed pre-flight, the organ spires resonated one last chord. The lullaby motif expanded into full symphony. The air shimmered. Lena, Ibrahim, Maeve, Sato, and Calder stood at attention, helmets under arms. The planet sang them farewell. Liftoff kicked dust roses into sunrise. In low orbit, they looked down at swirls of violet and aquamarine. The planet's magnetosphere traced luminous ribbons, visible evidence of its newly tuned heart. Maeve whispered through open comms, "Do you think it dreams of us?" Calder answered, "I hope so." During cruise to the long-range vessel, they faced the necessary task: logs, reports, data compressions. In their private day notes, each admitted a strange emptiness, as if part of them remained surface-bound, listening to organ pipes. Sato wrote, "We glimpsed a model for human integration. Not hive mind, not domination. Symbiosis via intentional empathy." Lena, reading his note later, added, "If we survive the committees, perhaps we can teach Earth to do the same." As they entered cryo-prep for the years-long return, Lena gathered the crew in the commons. No suits, no neural mesh, no instrumentation, except silent trust. She raised her hand. One by one, they placed theirs atop hers. Cobalt, amber, viridian, rose, pearl. For a moment the room stilled, and each felt a familiar resonance, a subtle echo of Quinkeh, flutter like a heartbeat shared. Then it was gone, but not lost. They sealed the gesture with laughter and a promise. Deep space swallowed the vessel. Behind them, Eidolon spun in quiet orbit, its storms woven into songs, its dreams attended by the echo of 5 wandering minds it had once held close. On board, 5 sleepers drifted into cryogenic dusk, carrying gifts of a planet that had demanded everything and offered infinity. Somewhere between heartbeats, an astronaut dreamed, and far away, a world listened, answering with gentle chords that folded through the dark like hope.